Welcome to the Real Board Loft. I'm Trip Forman. We have James Jenkins with us today, and the next board we're going to be talking about is the Lost LayZToy 2. James, this is your LayZToy 2. What are the dimensions on this board?
This is a 5'4", 20 1/4, 2.4, coming in at 29.5 liters.
All right.
And this little guy is so much fun. Before I got this, I'd only ever ridden my dad's same model. I think his is a 7.2 maybe.
And
had an absolute blast
Right.
on it. Wanted my own. I'm like, well, shoot, like what size do I get if I'm having a blast on the 7.2?
Yeah.
But then I saw this little guy, I'm like, man, that looks fun. And at 29 liters, that's significantly more than I ride my shortboard. But hey, like, they just have such a big sweet spot, and you know, it's just an all-around fun board. So yeah, this thing is fantastic. You ride it, thruster, quad. Yeah, I've taken it on a couple trips, and it's been a great, just an all-around fun board.
Yeah, I mean, this board on the rack, I think they're available like 5.0 to 7.2.
Right.
And it's amazing to see the spread, you know, of surfers that this board like puts smiles on their faces, you know, from like you and Jeffrey, all the way up through like your dad or John Graham, you know, and then his kids borrowing it, like, you know, Jack and Nick borrowing that board, and you know, and you have in that session you rode your dad's, like you got wave of the session in the afternoon, like just backdooring that thing, and on a 7.2, and like kind of what we've seen on the board is literally like you could surf a foot of them and enjoy any size, or even a foot and a half, like what you're doing. That's like you're almost at 2 feet of them, right? 5'4" to 7.2, and have fun, you know. And so it's got a really big sweet spot on the board. It behaves really well and like performs really well over foamed. So like if your ability or your preference, like you like a lot of foam, like this board won't fight you with a lot of foam.
It's not going to go against you.
Yeah, because a lot of the, like this board is like flat and it's got some V in the bottom, like where the concave boards, if you get them too big, then they tend to overpower the surfer and like kind of fight the surfer, rather than this thing like, I mean, even Robert Porteous from the Carolina Brewery, like he has a 7.2 and he just rips on that thing.
He just took it on his trip to Costa Rica. Had a blast. I think that just someone like my dad who's getting a little bit older, loves surfing, but is like, hey, I don't want to surf a shortboard. I want to go out and catch waves and have fun. This has kind of turned into his, well, not this one, but his 7.2 has turned into his go-to shortboard. For, you know, an older guy. I mean, he's not that old, but you know.
He's older than you.
Older than me. And just wants an easy and fun surf experience. The waves are, you know, a little bit bigger than where he wants to ride a longboard, you know. So this is his go-to shape for anything other than a longboard, and he loves it. And I just think it's versatility, and you know, you could ride any size and have a blast.
I mean, we're talking about like your 5'4", and you know, Jeffrey's probably editing in like all these crazy turns and barrels and everything else like on this little 5'4", just like you took this thing to St. John. And in the U.S. Virgin Islands, had a really good time on it, which like isn't even on most people's radar as a surf spot. You know, and you're having a blast in this thing.
Took it to Nicaragua, took it to Fiji, and it's gonna go everywhere with me. It's just a really great board to have in the board bag for any surfer. You know, any surfer is gonna have a good time on this. So I think for someone looking to get a board that's easy, user-friendly, catches waves, and it's just fun, this is the one.
Yeah, there's a great, you know, like we're at one end of the spectrum with this 5'4", like, you know, going back to like, you know, Robert and your dad, John Graham, and like kind of the crew that's riding like kind of 6'10" to 7.2. It just amazes me, like when I pick up Robert's board, like how foiled out the rails are. Like it's not like a big like hog. It's not like a whale ship. I mean, it's big, right? But it's foiled down on the rails for that big of a board. And he is just like all over the wave on that thing.
He
like
kills it.
I mean, just like, you know, he's everywhere on that wave, in the barrel, and really good turns. You know, a lot of wave count for a bigger guy. And then like, you know, the comment that your dad made, like after he brought his first one, I remember he went down to Nicaragua with like the first one that he got, and he came back and he was like, I'm a 500, or I don't know whether it was he said it or you said it or Lance said it, but somebody was like, he was literally 500% better.
Yeah, totally. Because you're catching waves on it, you know? And just that giant sweet spot, you can pop up anywhere on the board and you're going to be in a good position on the board to ride the wave.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing about it that is important.
Let's dive into sweet spot, because that might be something new for people, you know? And like, so when James is talking about sweet spot, we're talking about like where you could stand on the board and have the thing still work.
Right.
You know, and so like high performance shortboards, like your back, when you stand up, like your back foot's got to be here and your front foot's got to be here. And if it's not, what happens?
Right. Yeah. If you catch up, if you stand up and your feet are in the wrong spot, you're like, oh, I blew this wave, and it's like
the board just dogs out, right? It just plows.
Right. Plows the water, and you're not going to have a good time on that wave. This board, what we say, has a giant sweet spot. You know, your feet can be anywhere on the deck, and the board's going to perform the way that it should. So for older guys, you know, your pop-up's starting to slow down, you're not as fast as you were when you were younger, this is a great board for those people. Just because you're popping up, it doesn't matter where you're standing. You know, you're going to have just as much of a good time because the sweet spot is so big, and so it's just such a user-friendly board. I mean, even for me, like if you stand up, your leash is wrapped around your leg, your back foot's not where you want it to be, doesn't matter.
It still keeps going.
You're still going to enjoy it. So that's a really a thing that Lost did a good job with this board, is just that big user-friendly sweet spot.
The other thing, like on that, like having that elongated sweet spot that's cool is, you know, for somebody like yourself or Cody Craig, like who's at the higher end of the ability spectrum,
right?
Then you can stand, like functionally, you can stand anywhere on the board and like do different trim, you know, different trim on the board, or different, more like a mid-length style from the center of the board, and just style out on it, right? Rather than always being like tic-tacking from the back of the board.
Right, yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's some great info on the LayZToy 2 from Lost. James, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
If you have any questions on the Lost LayZToy 2 or would like to place an order for one, you can always reach us at the shop, 252-987-6000, or you can look us up online, realwatersports.com/surfing. Thanks for tuning in.